Alright, because I have written... Oh yeah, cheers, my name is Christopher, as you should know by now, and I am the proudly father. Yes, I have written the Book of Fear. And as I walk here at night through the hollow cities of Lunatic, I ask myself whether this is a very good idea. And the way I can feel this, it's like I'm very sensitive to the presence of others. Like if this would be totally empty, you know, I would know, right? It's like I want a predictable environment, like a commune where there's people and we can get together and we can make fire and where I know nobody's gonna come and harm me. And I just feel like everybody's so toxic that, you know, it's just impossible. I mean, I'm walking here through a fairly middle-sized city and I'm literally shitting my pants because I don't know why, but you know, I think everybody is a potential lunatic. And I know that my channel is basically, you know, that's like my brand, the Barbarian Lunatic, but I mean, if you're a lunatic, you will think other people are lunatics. And the way Terence McKenna once said it was, I think, just because you're weird, it doesn't mean that you are, you know, very tolerant for the weirdness of others. And I think that's one of the smartest things anyone ever said. And as I'm standing here, the only thing I can say is that whatever it is, I have no idea why it makes sense, right? It's not that I've tried to be somewhere else, but if I'm really honest about my situation right now, it's actually that I'm not sure why I'm still here. Or I think a better way to say it would be, you know, why it still keeps going. It's not that, you know, I'm confused about my fact of, you know, like, that's my existence. It makes no sense to talk about this shit. But, you know, it's certainly weird to just question your own reality. Because, I mean, what have you left? I mean, I sometimes feel, you know, this is about spirituality I'm talking. This is not some half-assed, you could literally leave, right? This is yoga, my friend. And I'm just explaining it to myself by talking to myself through the lens of a camera, but more specifically, for me, it's actually the microphone. Actually wanted to get a walking... Okay, now I'm starting to... This is a particular area where I was really afraid. And now I just feel like, you know, I can walk through it. But you have to understand, this is not a city like Johannesburg. I wanted to look if it was like that, and I realized it is pretty quiet. If I would be in Johannesburg, I would not go into the center. You know, I was in Polokwane and I went into the center and wanted to take one of these taxi buses. And because I was very ignorant, you know, I walked through there in bare feet. I had a backpack with a laptop, 2 laptops. I had a big one, a small one. You know, I don't want to brag. I just want to say, you know, that's like the reality that I live my life in. You know, I just travel the world with a laptop and my camera, and I just did stuff. And then I came back to this little village where there's just nothing. I mean, there's no wildlife. Everybody's in a bad mood. I mean, the weather's kind of gloomy. And the cities, you know, it's like, okay, I mean, you can get to know it if you really want to. I mean, if you're not gonna do it, I'm not sure somebody else will. And that's just like Morty style motivational speaking. And maybe, you know, I could like be a bit like Rick. You know, it's like you just walk. It's like Beavis and Butthead or something. No, you see, now we're getting into role playing again. And the question is, how far can I actually push it? Because, you know, the one I like the most is this, you know, like, okay, maybe I have to go full range for that. It's pretty crazy because sometimes you just have like a breakthrough in your own personal life and you're not even sure if you're supposed to record it. Like, I mean, the question as a creator is, how much of yourself do you want to share with the world? You know, how private do you want to take this? Because, I mean, you can be really private. And this is probably the point where I'll be speaking a little about pornography, because I was kind of losing my mind in the madness of everything. And that's also the part of the story that nobody talks about when nobody talks about psychedelics. And of course, the reason I can talk the way I'm talking now is because of my involvement in and with psychedelics. And you could say now, well, he has lost his mind, or you could simply accept or tolerate that there are some people who can learn to work with psychedelic on a therapeutic level and free their mind of, I don't know, weird constructs of thought, such as, you know, I'm weird, or, you know, I'm like an animal, or animals are shit. You know, it's like, these are just thought constructs, but because we identify with them, you know, we become them, and we act like them, and we live like them, and suddenly it's like, oh fucking hell, and I hate it, it's like, and suddenly you're Ram Dass, you know, and then you're Siddhartha, ha ha ha, you know, and then you're that guy, and then you think, you know, yeah, you know, it would be so cool if I could make music with Chris Webby, you know, I kind of like that guy, and you're like, what the fuck is happening to me? You know, and then you think about Terence McKenna, and I'm not sure if I would be, wow, I mean, that is insane. How, you know, could I really imitate, wow, wow, this is insane stuff. You see, I do feel like I'm getting better at things, but you also have to realize that doing psychedelics when you have a fixed life structure is a very bad idea. You know, at least if you're doing it on a frequent basis, and certainly if you think that you have addictive, attachments maybe to certain substances. You know, and this could be something like coffee, and this could be something like sugar, and this could be something like, you know, I eat until I'm really full, like full with cheese and like blah, and, you know, like bread, pizza, and then coffee on top, like blah, you know, and then I can shit, and I feel like I'm already full, and I shit, you know, and then you start realizing these things, and you ask yourself, what am I always looking over my shoulder for? You know, it's like, I have this quirk that I'm not sure if I'm just making up horror stories in my mind. You know, I walk around and I pick up these kinds of things, and people still expect me to work a normal job. I mean, can you believe what's happening to me? If one evening with two other guys drives me completely insane, if you put me in a supermarket with like hundreds of people, I would fucking die. I mean, you just don't get it. I mean, I'm open to everything. You pick up shit from people's grandparents and all the emotional stuff. It's just like flooding right into you. You just want to, you know, start to cry. It's just weird, really weird. And then you spend time with people and, you know, stuff happens to their families and friends and, you know, you're worried and your parents are worried. And you just walk like that through life. And then you meet and it's like also emotionless, like, something's gonna happen in my life. And then everybody's like, oh yeah, it's really terrible. It's just like, what the fuck is this? I mean, sorry. Is it weird to complain about this? Am I an asshole for questioning the way we communicate? You know how we, like, yes, no, yes. I'm looking for the right way back home. Yeah, you know, you could be like this, but the problem is I have a huge distaste for putting up too much of a show. You know, I'm already quite a character, and that's, you know, now I'm coming back to myself. I'm just saying. You know, I just drank coffee, and then we smoked cannabis. Okay, and I drank a beer. I have to be honest about that, but that's it. You know, that's like basically stuff that's kind of legal. You know, coffee is certainly tobacco. And then, okay, I could get, from the CBD shop, I could legal HHC, which is even stronger and more unbalanced. It's like possibly you could say more punctuated. It doesn't mean that it's bad, but it's just, you can feel that it's chemical. I would say, it's certainly, you know, it's weird to talk so smart about these things. It's hard to maintain an image when you are so wobbly, and this may be due to the characteristics of being an Aquarius. Now if we think of X-Men, when that senator is being hit with these mutation rays and he turns into water in the end, this is how I feel. And when you listen to, you know, I feel flow everywhere, and I feel when the currents are disturbed and I can't tap into them. I have felt this before when I was in Amsterdam. We just smoked a doobie, and then I went to swim in the ocean. And when I came out of it, you know, I was like flowing. You know, I was, you know, like you're standing on these. Have you ever been to an airport? And there are these moving floorboards. You know, I don't know how it's like it's like an escalator. You know, now I have to give credit to my first English teacher, Mr. Hall, in 5th and 6th grade. He was a genius. He really had the class together. I mean, he scared the shit out of everyone. I mean, that's the kind of guy, when he was younger, when a student would knock at the door, or a pupil, probably better to say, at that age, you know, now it's like, okay, maybe it's just better to continue the story than to question the reality of, you know, it's ever coming into existence, you know. I mean, sorry, I'm really trying to be serious about this, but it's just so weird. I mean, that's the moment when, I think it's in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where sometimes these things happen and Johnny Depp's just standing there, or, you know, Willy Wonka is like, you know what, you know, it's self-inflicted. You know, I didn't do shit. You know, you did this all by yourself, and I even warned you, and you still did this. So, what's the consequence? Well, you gotta carry that shit, my friend. You're gonna be a wobbly, really wobbly purple blueberry girl. And then you can, like, hate yourself for that. You know, like the mother is looking at her child like, now she's not pretty anymore. Well, what's with the daughter? Because if the daughter now says, I'm just gonna accept this, you know, yeah, that's who I am now. I mean, I'm awesome. You know, I have jelly powers. Wow. And that's then when you walk around talking and suddenly somebody comes along and you realize, oh, wow, there's somebody listening. And you are not sure whether you should question yourself or whether the other person either thinks it's funny or whether they think he's insane. Maybe I should hide myself at home and, you know, stuff myself with cake. Because that's certainly a good way to deal with depression and fear. Right? Sometimes I literally aim myself through fits of fear or spasms of fear or you know, it's like continuous hammerings of fear. And so you can see how often I can switch character within one session. So, you know, imagine what, you know, there are people that I would consider friends now. It is weird to say that, you know, after such a long time. And how deeply should I involve myself emotionally? How far should I let this become? No, you see, now I just, you know, no, I can't take this serious anymore. Fuck. You know, that's the kind of honesty, which is still kind of playful. I mean, come on. Why did you have to say this? Holy fuck, there's literally an animal. Do I have to be concerned? Is this the grim? Could I keep it in check? Is this the dog? Ah, then there's a human, and I feel relaxed again, you know. But if it would be just the animal, I would literally not be sure whether I should be worried or not. And generally what you can consider is the possibility that whoever walks at night with a dog is probably only doing so because of the dog. For me, my dog is the camera. And now I'm really not sure. Now fear is creeping in. I think I have avoided the areas that I find a bit disturbing. Right. I just sometimes have to orient myself, because now I'm just in a situation where I have ingested a psychotropic agent in the form of coffee. I see coffee of one of the most serious psychedelics around. Sugar, certainly. And I may have even spiced it up with some cardamom if I'm like really in for the kick. You know, that's the safest way of shooting yourself into a, you know, interesting day. If you feel like you've got a Sunday off and you want to just spend the day outside, you know, you just pack your things, just pack some tea, you know, just, I don't know, take a thermos bottle, bring some water, bring an apple, bring a pear, bring some fruit, you know, easy food. That's what I would bring. I wouldn't bring cheese anymore. I wouldn't bring sausage. That's for later. That's when you come back. Then you get the bread. But on a hike, you just go light. You know, it's like tea, water, and then you just start walking. And then you just start walking, and you start the day. You say, you know, I want to start, I don't know, 8 o'clock. You know, you don't have to be that motivated. You can just see when you wake up. And then you just pack lightly, you know, you just let yourself slide into it. That's how I usually do it, actually. You know, I'm not super fuzzed about when I leave. I just have the idea I'm going to go somewhere, and then I kind of try to forget that I ever had the idea. And then I start acting intuitively, and then I just look for things. Oh, what I want to do. I just check, okay, let's watch a bit of the OC. And then okay, there's like, I feel like I should go to my parents or something, and then I just go to my parents. And it's a weird lifestyle, which certainly works for me. And it certainly works for the people that started to kind of invest in me, in my endeavor. And the weird thing to say is, if like, but that's when you mention the ego, because it's kind of selfish, because I come for friendship. Like when I feel you need a friend, I'll be there. But I only do this because I want something in return. Like, is this beneficial to me? I wouldn't spend time with you if this wouldn't be beneficial to me. And neither would you. Right? You wouldn't be listening to me if you didn't think there was something to learn from what I am trying to teach you. But the truth is that I can only teach you to a certain degree, which means the fledgling has to leave the nest. And the reason you're listening to me is because, I kind of, nobody pushed me out. I jumped. I jumped. And then I pulled others with me. Because, and that's, where I, again, as usual, and probably, right, because everyone kind of hates the middle class. And the middle class thinks, at least I'm not poor, right? I'm not rich, but at least I'm not poor, at least I don't have it as bad as they have it. And then I grew up as a middle class child, and I thought, when I saw celebrities, I thought, boy, this must be awful, like really awful. And I would say this is where I introduced Terence McKenna, but I can't take that guy serious. I mean, I can take him very serious, but the question is whether or not I can, why am I saying this? Endure his presence any longer? I mean, this man has saved my life, and now I don't want to respect him anymore just because I feel like I have overcome him, If that's not the ego, then please tell me what is. And why do I still feel like that what I'm saying makes sense? Because I just feel like nothing ever makes sense. But it makes sense. And that's what makes no sense, because I don't understand why it's still happening. And this is so weird. I mean, I was like, breathe, I have to breathe again, and then like a tear comes out, then I walk through here, and it's like so confusing. But it's also so beautiful, and nothing's actually ever happening. I mean, I thought people punched me, but there was nothing. I mean, it actually never really hurt. Okay, somebody did bite my fingers. Like, Charlie, Charlie bit me. Yeah, it was my sister. I name her. Yeah, and I think it's nice. It's like a bit of a fight. And it's still strange to just walk around and simply keep going, even in the presence of others. And that's probably the most confusing part about leading a kind of public life, where you say, I'm going to expose myself and the way I feel about the environment I live in to a degree that I think you could certainly call out as, there's a cat. That's the wildlife that you have to look for. And what you always have to remember when I'm talking, that while I talk, I observe things and I describe to you how I feel and what I see, that all the time I'm doubting whether what is happening is actually real. And then you could say, well, I think you're mad, or you're kind of mind sick. In German, you have this really harsh word, geisteskrank. It's like spirit sick or ghost sick. I mean, ghost in the sense of spirit, like the self or whatever. And that's like what people that, if you watch Shutter Island, that's the idea. People were treated like, You know, they deserve to be punished because they were kind of possessed by the devil, but now science took over and we're just gonna shock them or do what they did in Sucker Punch, you know, like I don't know, break through the bone. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, this is like the Dementor's kiss, you know, Harry Potter right in your face. And we just deny the existence of these things. I mean, what really happens in these institutions? I mean, if I wouldn't have had a strong family background, you would have found me either on the streets babbling or like, you know, Grave of the Fireflies kind of dead in some kind of weird corner of some kind of dark alley, you know. That's just what I'm saying. And you know, it's just very intense to walk through this city after everything I have done up until this moment, because nobody really knows the intensity of my life. Like, I have shared almost nothing with the people that I live with, and nobody really understands what it means like to lead a life like the one that I am living. Like, free, kind of on the streets, you know, certainly connecting with others, but also spending like hours in seclusion and then offering help and then actually thinking, I think I'm not gonna be available. Because sometimes when I need you, you're not available. And that's then when I say, you know, I think this friendship could actually work. Because if I can feel like I'm a bit of a dick, and you can feel like you're a bit of a dick, then both of us can have a kind of a strong foundation for a good friendship, because we know how to set boundaries. But I can still piss you off a little, and you can show me a few of your powers, you know, and then I show you some of mine. And then we just have to still figure out how to work with each other. And that's probably the most hard part of whatever this is, because I'm still in the same shape. Like, I'm still this bearded guy walking around, but I'm also kind of different. And that's what I still don't understand. Like, how can I live the way I'm living, you know, and still keep going? Like, why do people actually support what I'm doing? You know, I've been doing this because I actually believe, you know, this means something. And this is why my actions are so overpowered, because I'm so enthusiastic for this feeling that I've discovered while I was traveling, because my middle class father or family could support this. And now maybe you do realize what the benefit is of having the middle class, if some of their children can actually start doing good work. But so can people that just work hard and just make a living on their own. And so can children from really rich parents, like Bill Gates' son or something, you know. And that's probably what Inception has taught us, you know. I don't have to be like my father, you know, but I can certainly learn from him. I don't have to be all like cocky and smug about it. I mean, the thoughts that I sometimes have, sometimes I have weird thoughts, sometimes I have dark thoughts, and sometimes I have thoughts that just say, you know what? This woman has wiped your ass, and you're not listening to her. You know, or this father has probably cleaned your wiener, you know, or, you know, held you upside down when you had a burp, and you just treat them like their opinion means nothing. You know, I don't give a shit what you think, I know better. And because you're the meanest prick around and the cockiest fucker of the whole crew, everybody kind of respects you. And it's really weird to accept such a position and then to even openly talk about it and discuss it. And that's just when you ask yourself, what is really happening again? I mean, how can I communicate this stuff that is happening to me that feels real but makes no sense? Like, talking about this is absolutely nonsense to me, but you may listen to it and you may understand something. And I think there's something that I'm always, and probably, like, that's certainly what I'm trying to say. I mean, that's like very close, like that's the bullseye, is that words mean very little unless actions are followed. And then you have to ask yourself, what are the things that you said in your life that were actually holding you back from your true potential? And then the question is, if it comes to women and love, how much should I cling to, like proposals, marriages, even if there's a contract, how much do we have to cling to this? I don't know. I always have the feeling I just want to make love to one woman. And that sounds very romantic, but I'm the guy that hated, if there wasn't a happy ending. I realized it was kind of cool, and there was a part of me that really wanted there to be movies without a happy ending. But then, you sometimes also realize Feli Day was kind of dark, and so was, now the fear comes creeping in again. Question: is this really fear? Or is it just me closing up again? Because what has changed now is there's like a flow of wind surging down from the hill, because there's a street now, and I'm coming from a side street. So suddenly I'm walking here now, and it's like the wind blazing through, and I walk around the corner and I actually felt good, and then suddenly like, what is this? It's so dark. I don't like this. Yeah, until you realize, oh shit, okay, it's the wind. It's like pushing air or something, or sucking it out of my lungs. Oh, as soon as you do this, it's like, oh wow, it's like, what's actually thrombosis or something? Oh, what's Ebola? It's like, maybe you just stop breathing. Most of my practice is actually breathing. Sometimes, okay, I do smoke cannabis, but then I also use it to breathe because it enhances my my body awareness. You see, like, how can I explain to you what I'm not even sure happened? You see? It's like, how can I explain to you that I'm not even sure how? It's like listening to Ram Dass and then trying to understand how Ram Dass truly felt about what he was doing, his position in life, in Maharaji, or I think his other name, Neem Karoli Baba. This is like intense stuff. And I'm really digging for truth, and it makes no sense. But I can actually see myself as Ram Dass sometimes, and then I lose myself in these characters, and then I have to work hard to get back to myself. And that's probably one of the things that is being enhanced to a great extent by the consumption of psychedelics, which questions the I'm really doubting whether or not one should take psychedelics or not. Sometimes, I make great jumps with them. I really learn lessons, super intense stuff. I can talk at an insane level. But how much should I rely on this for? And now, of course, what I now have to remember is that the only things I did now, I drank tea, drank coffee, I smoked cannabis, good quality cannabis, with a bit of tobacco, and I drank beer. This is like what I would consider very legal. And I had friends that I actually would consider as friends. It's still hard to say, it's possible, that's it's hard to say. It's like, certainly, I mean, we can pass the time. It's all right, you know. I mean, we can kind of piss each other off, but we also know that, you know, we're all kind of assholes, but with a kind of also good core. And as long as it's there, you know, it is a nice way to spend your day. But at the same time, it's also nice to have your own space, your own, you know, what you do, and then just leave it at, you know, okay, I've offered you help. If you really need it, you can ask for it. But you also have the feeling that you're probably never gonna do that. And that's then when the respect comes in. You know, I respect that you also have a lot to carry. But yeah, I mean, it's also nice to connect as friends. And then you don't know how far you want to follow that path. Because as a man, there's always the question, does, you know, is the other man gay? You know, how far am I supposed to open myself to the friendship with another man? Because I'm certainly not interested in engaging with men like in a romantic way. And I would really also reject it, you know, very harshly if, you know, I have been offered in a weird way and I always said, yeah, it's just not an option, man. It just doesn't even consider, you know, I completely block this kind of thought. And I also block the thought of ever taking things like heroin and ecstasy or pills. You know, I know how good MDMA looks like, and I would only take, let's see, LSD from people that I trust. But I also realize I don't have to do these things, you know, to lead a normal life. I can just figure out my stuff, work out my diet, just ask myself what I need. You know, you could say I'm just a little bit crazy. You know, I just like feeling like this and then solving riddles. You know, that's why I create content. But if I would have to work in a supermarket, you know, I couldn't do shit. I mean, I would just stand around because I would constantly lose myself in thought and I would start talking to you. And I start being like this every time I leave the house. Every time I see people, I just start babbling. And that's just what you have to understand about some people that you live with, that, you know, sometimes it's just a bit much. So just be a bit respectful about your neighbors and yourself, and give yourself and others a little bit space. Cheers.